Denji is a young orphan burdened with a huge mountain of debt after his father commits suicide. He struggles to survive by hunting devils for the Yakuza with his own pet devil named Pochita. Eventually, he becomes their victim and is brutally murdered by them. He's then brought back to life by his pet devil and is given extraordinary powers, granting him the ability to transform into a devil-human hybrid with chainsaws for hands. Denji's unique abilities lead him to be recruited into the Public Safety Devil Hunters, an organization with combating the threat of devils. He faces various challenges, including battling powerful devils and navigating relationships with the so-called friends he makes in the organization. Denji's seen walking across the sidewalk with the usual level of gloom and doom. He's thinking through all the body parts he recently had to sell of to alleviate his debt, which was still over 38 million yen. Guess he sold his nuts for nothing. Pochita barks to warn Denji of a nearby devil, and they both go over in excitement to check it out. Arriving on the scene, they see a giant, nasty-looking creature with multiple eyes that's in desperate need of a dentist. After Denji and his devil make quick work of the creature, a man arrives on the scene to collect and sell the dead carcass, and it's made clear that Denji just killed the tomato devil. He tells the Yakuza agent to burn the seeds as soon as possible, otherwise they'll have to deal with the creature again. The man makes Denji believe that he's going to be rewarded heavily for his effort, then snaps him back to reality with the hard truth. Denji starts heading home with Pochita as he's budgeting the pocket change he made from the job he pulled. Besides the Yakuza, he still has other debts of his own he needs to settle. He's so used to living in poverty that he's okay with splitting a single slice of bread with his pet devil for dinner. Yeah, that's right, slice, not loaf, slice. While heading home, a car pulls over and stops Denji, revealing himself the Yakuza agent. The driver offers to give him 100 yen if he can swallow a cigarette whole, treating him like some sort of circus pony. Denji happily agrees and shoves the cigar in his mouth as he pretends to swallow it. Denji's given a strict warning that if he tries to skip town, he won't be remembered by anyone after he's dead gone. That was his final word to him before driving off. Denji smiles as he spits the cigarette out. His mouth tosses it and pets Pochita, reassuring him that they just made another 100 yen that would last them 3 days. They're both back home safe from the pouring rain, and true to Denji's word, they're both feasting on a slice of bread together, while he tells Pochita that he never knew putting jam on bread was considered normal. There really is levels to poverty. Denji's certain that he'll kick the bucket before he ever finishes paying off his debt, so they won't ever get the chance to put jam on their bread. He just hopes that he gets the chance to kick it with a girl before he croaks. At that moment, Denji flashes back to the night his father died, which was also the same night he met Pochita. Desperate to live, Denji sees a dying Pochita and makes a contract with him, stating that in exchange for allowing Pochita drink his blood and live, he too would have to return the favor. Returning back to present, a much older Denji is curled up around Pochita, not being able to sleep, pointing to the fact that he's too hungry to sleep and thinking about money only makes it worse. In an attempt to soothe his predicament, he begins telling Pochita about his dreams. He wants to be in bed with a sweet girl, how he wants to eat bread with jam all the time and stay up all night playing video games. He suddenly starts coughing up blood, and this is because his mother died of a heart disease when he was younger, and now he may end up meeting the same fate. Shortly after, a knock came from the door informing Denji that it was time for another job. They find themselves in an abandoned warehouse, and Denji begins to question the absence of anyone else, including the supposed devil, even thinking the devil flocked off like a fairy with wings. He then stops Denji in his tracks and starts telling him how thankful he is for all his years as of obedient service, telling him that he's a loyal mutt and he works for cheap treats like one. At that moment, a katana pierces through Denji's back and goes through Pochita, who was hoisted up in his arms. As he begins to explain the reason for Denji's betrayal, another devil appears from the shadow like the Shinigami Ryuk, only this one was far less good-looking. It introduced itself as the zombie devil, which explains the hunchback and charming looks. Revealing its hatred for devil hunters, the zombie devil ordered its horde of zombified minions to chop up Denji into bits and trash him in the dumpster, which was exactly what they did despite his attempt to try to run. And so the young orphan was dead and done, or so they thought. In the trash, drips of Denji's blood made its way into Pochita's mouth and he was revived. This would be the second time Denji saved him, and so Pochito was moved and offered up his life to save Denji's. Just before parting for good, Pochito had Denji make him a promise. He wanted Denji to fulfill his dreams so Pochito could watch from within him. And so, just like Naruto and Kurama, the two merged into one, which gave Denji one hell of a power boost. His body parts rejoined and he busted out of the garbage to try to reach out to Pochito. The zombie is surprised and disgusted to see Denji in one piece when he isn't Luffy. It sends its horde of zombies again at Denji, but this time outcome is very different. Denji pulls the lever on his chest and transforms into the Chainsaw Man. His arms and head become literal chainsaws and easily rips through the pile of zombies on top of him. He skips through the runts and goes straight for the bid, bad and ugly, gouging out one of its humps. It sends him flying back and starts tossing zombies at him in fear, but Denji effortlessly rips through the horde again and goes for the kill as he rips the zombie devil in two and sends a sea of blood flooding the warehouse. After killing the boss, he takes his sweet time killing off the rest of the minions. As dawn breaks, three people in black leather coats are seen approaching the warehouse as they realize they're already late because the job's been completed by the individual standing in the midst of all the corpses. A lady walks up to him and asks what he is, not who, what, because she says he doesn't like a human or a devil. Denji, not being able to say anything as he's about to pass out, tells her to hold him, and that's exactly what she does. His reverts back to his human form and lies helpless in her arms. She explains who she is and what she came for and proceeds to give Denji two options. The first being that she kills him right there as a depraved devil, or he lets her keep him as a pet, telling him there's always good food to eat. Denji happily accepts her offer. Denji's stomach growls in the car, breaking the silence, catching Makima's attention. Seems he really was hungry. She begins to explain the terms of him agreeing to be her pet. Denji started rethinking his decision, and then he remembered his own pet who gave its life for him. Again, his stomach growls, and she suggests they stop to eat. She then gives him her coat so he's not naked in public. Denji's taken aback by her kindness. Despair and insults are all he's ever known. This little act of compassion shook Denji to his core, so much so that he thought he was in love with her. They both place their orders, and while it's getting ready, Makima asks him how he came to be what he is, and in the midst of explaining, Denji passes out due to exhaustion from all the killing, and when he wakes, he's sat on the table with a bowl of udon soup in front of him. He wants to dig in, but then Makima stops him and offers to feed him. Of course, the young scoundrel agrees and proceeds to open his mouth wider than a domain expansion. He asks Makima if she has a type in guys, finally showing the true turtle hermit in him. She responds to him saying she likes Denji-type boys. That response sent a jolt of testosterone firing all over his body. After eating, they head to the Tokyo HQ for devil hunters, with Denji still thinking over what she said to him, simping pathetically for her on the way. Once they arrive, she begins to break down the basics and benefits of the operation they run, but it's obvious he wasn't listening, as all he could think about was fondling her in the sheets. Chances of that happening are lower than Kiba becoming Hokage. In her office, she drags him out of his daydream by asking if he's listening to her. Obviously, he lied. She hands him a uniform that's befitting of a devil hunter and tells him that he'll be meeting his colleague soon. Aki Hayakawa, Denji's senior by 3 years, is tasked with job of patrolling with him for the whole. Denji demanded that he wants to be with her, but Aki just drags him out of the room and tells how outclassed he is compared to her. She reassures while knotting his tie that they'll be working together down the road. Cue the butterflies. While they're together, Denji tries to make small talk with Aki and extract info on Makima, but Aki just instructs him to follow him into a dark alley and proceeds to beat the devil out of him. He advises Denji to quit and run, saying that he's not cut out to be a devil hunter, and then walks away. Denji runs up behind him and kicks him dead square in the nuts so hard his offspring could feel it. As if one wasn't enough, he turns it into a 16-hit nut combo. Aki's definitely gonna feel that for a few days. Aki lands one more punch before taking the last knockout kick that caused him to pass out. Denji hauls Aki's body numbnut body back to HQ and tells Makima that a testicle devil went crazy on his Aki's nuts, to which of course Aki frantically objects. She instructs both to get along as they're now part of the same team and should get used to each other until death do them part. They're both finally having a normal conversation on the street when Aki tells Denji that he'll be living with him from now on. They arrive at Aki's house. It isn't up to 5 minutes and Denji's already proven that he actually might be a hopeless nutcase. In one night, he trashes Aki's kitchen, uses his bathroom as a brigade set and sleeps off on his toilet while at the same time finishing his toilet paper. The next morning, they head to restricted area that's been sealed off by the police with suspicions of it being a devil-related incident. The officers break down the situation to them and they proceed into the house. Aki busts open a room door to reveal what's known as a fiend, a hideous-looking devil that's taken over a human corpse. Aki wants to gouge Denji's abilities and tells him to transform to kill the fiend, but Denji just casually slashes the devil's head off with the axe he's wielding. Aki asks why he didn't transform, seeing as that was a direct order. Denji tells him it's because he felt bad for the devil. Aki subtly warns him to take his job seriously, saying devils aren't friends. Denji responds telling him that he'll be friends with devils if he gets the chance to. Aki just walks out on him. Alone, Denji begins to reflect on what his purpose truly is now that he's living the dream. And as if inspired by Jiraiya-sensei himself, he somehow comes to the twisted conclusion that his purpose is groping melons. Makima asks him what he means and Aki just downright calls him an idiot. But in the midst of his newfound revelation, she informs them that they'd be getting a new partner today. And as if on cue, Power barges into her office and makes a rather dramatic entrance. Just as he's about to complain, he catches a glimpse of her melons and holds his tongue. Makima urges both Denji and Power to prove useful and get results for the organization if they don't want to be executed. They head out to patrol on rooftops and she's already proving to be more useless and erratic than Sakura. Whenever they run into federal officials or anyone who finds them suspicious, all they have to do is flash their public safety devil hunter badge. Power charges into the wind at the smell of blood and Denji rushes after her exclaiming that she's downright crazy. He's not wrong. It's now made clear that there's a devil nearby and without warning, Power dives in from a high-rise building directly atop the devil. She showcases her unique ability to manipulate her own blood, turning it into a sledgehammer and smashing the blub of a devil to tiny bits all over the environment. A security official who witnessed the scene is left speechless. The devil gut-filled environment quickly turns into a restricted area and Makima is seen reprimanding the two for their unacceptable behavior, laying emphasis on Power's uncontrolled bloodlust. In a desperate attempt to redeem herself, Power tries to pin the fault on Denji by lying against him, saying he was the one who ordered her to kill the creature. They begin arguing and Makima just kindly requests that they stop, to which Power just coolly obey, much to Denji's surprise. They're both alone in a vending machine room filled with drinks and Power finally has a moment of closure with Denji, telling him how she came to be under Makima's control. Denji just acts carefree to her sentimentality, even calling it dumb for her to feel so strongly about a cat she lost, saying it'd make more sense if it were a dog, probably because he lived as one. She proceeds to make a deal with him. She tells him that as a reward for saving her cat Meowie, she'll let him grope her melons. Denji lights up like a flame user. Burning with the flames of youth, he tells Makima that he'll get revenge and rescue her pet cat. They're back in HQ and it's revealed that Power needs a permit to be in and out of the premises. They board a train to go to the location of the catnapper while having time to chit-chat and realize that they're just not compatible. Makima is seen facing what looks to be a board of directors talking about the progress of the two miscreants she had just recruited. She leaves the building in the back of a car with Aki driving her. Aki asks her why she's even considering Denji in the first place. She then explains how the devil fear factor works. The more a devil is feared, the stronger it is. Denji and Power, the two devil experiments, standing out in open field with their focus on a house in the distance. While they're both walking together, Denji points out the fact that she shouldn't be anywhere near the catnapper if she'll be vulnerable. Power then turns around to bash him in the head with her bloodhammer once he realizes that she tricked him. She drags Denji's unconscious body into the cottage with the intention of feeding him to a devil that lies within in exchange for her cat. The devil reveals his severed arm to a conscious Denji and tells him that his blood is what is going to heal him. He squeezes Denji like prune juice and drinks the hybrid blood that spews out of him. The taste was repulsive and he couldn't stand it. But nonetheless, his arm was healed and the trade was successful. Or so she thought. She got a taste of her own medicine and was also tricked by the bat devil as she watched it devour her precious Meowie. She stared at Denji, apologized for insulting his affection for his pet right before also being devoured by the devil as well. The devil flies off to find more humans to devour, but is surprised to see a bloody Denji latched onto his hind legs. He transforms and gives the devil a little bit of deja vu by severing the same arm that he healed, causing to crash into a building. The fight continues with Denji on the defensive, dodging and blocking the behemoth's attacks while still trying to protect helpless civilians. The bat takes advantage of this and tosses a car with someone inside at Denji, thinking it would weaken his resolve, but it didn't. He hurls the car right back at the creature. In frustration, Dracula hurls an air cannon at him. He comes out unscathed with his resolve to cup a pair of cleavages even stronger. He charges at the bat devil, slashing through every morsel of flesh he can touch until he completely tears the beast in half. We see a flashback of Power's memories and how she survived on her own as a fiend in the wilderness, killing birds, cows, and even bears to stay alive and enjoying it too. But when it comes to this pale-looking starved feline, she feels powerless. It's like she found her kryptonite. Her eyes open and we see a bruised and bloodied Denji holding on to her and Miawi. Stunned, she asks him why he would go to such lengths to save her after she betrayed him. He just casually points a finger and gestures a grope in the air. Jiraiya would be so proud. She tells him that is a very stupid reason, but alas, she apologizes and permits him to grab her melons. Denji's eyes burst wide open and he screams louder than a Super Saiyan transformation, raising his fist to the air as he celebrates his victory. Out of nowhere, hand is blown clean off and he yells in pain and turns around to see a sloth-like looking devil with a long snout devour his severed arm. What's with devils and eating arms? We get a closer look at the devil and it's seen that she's blind and has multiple udders on her abdomen. She looks at Denji and wonders how something so scrawny could kill her man. You read right, devil's date. The she-devil thinks that Denji being able to kill her man is attractive and worth praising, so she decides to let him live but plans to devour Power and Miawi. Denji's not having that and the two proceed to throw hands. Denji tries to activate his power, but he can't because he's lost so much blood. That doesn't stop him though. He charges at her and barely dodges her tentacled hands before she grabs him and tosses him several feet in the air. Denji's being overwhelmed, but the desire to grope some melons gives him the strength he needs. Literally, he blocks on of the tentacle and leaps into the air to land a clean left hook across the hideous kraken's face. Unfortunately, it does little damage as she returns the favor. Denji's barely controlling the situation and she taunts him, saying he's going to die here. He spits blood out of his mouth, answers, saying he's not saying until he's groped some melons. Everyone's always scolding him for not having a real goal or real dream. They all think that just because he doesn't want revenge, love, world domination, or even money, he's an idiot. On same Asta and Naruto vibe, he's determined to prove to everyone that his dream is just as valid, if not more, than any of theirs. With this in mind, he charges once more at the devil, grabbing one of the intestines of her deceased lover, using it to trip her while he tears open her tentacle with the little saw sticking out his head and tries going for the kill, but is ultimately impaled through the chest by the tongue of the devil. As all hope seems lost, Aki appears on the scene to save them both by summoning his fox devil to devour the leech devil whole. He quickly rushes Denji and Power to the hospital and dispatches other members of his squad, the civilians. In the hospital, Denji regains consciousness and realizes his arm's been reattached. Aki breaks down the details of the situation Denji is in.
デビルハンターは悪魔と契約して悪魔と戦う。俺は狐の悪魔と契約している。力を借りる代わりに体の一部を狐に食わせる契約だ。
He tells Denji that in order to keep from getting disposed, he has to follow his orders to the letter. Denji agrees. Aki leaves the hospital and heads to see Makima so he can drop in his report, or rather false report. Makima shows a little bit of suspicion, but he handles it discreetly and without batting an eye. The next morning, Aki wakes up in his apartment and goes about his daily routine with Denji until a knock, or rather a bang, originates from the door, and without warning, the Queen of Crazy storms into the place with news that she's moving in. Hard to tell whether it's actually good or bad news. One thing's for certain, she definitely needed a bath. Denji's cleaning up the mess she made in the toilet when she walks in to make good on their deal and have him fondle her melons. He drops down to his knees, still not believing this is really happening. She tells him he gets 3 She squeezes and pouts her chest in front of him. His hands are shaking. He's sweating like crazy. He still can't tell if this is reality or if someone put him under a genjutsu. With stretched out palms, he reaches to grope Power's boobs, or so he thought. As he's going for his second grope, he notices something fall out of her chest. A bra pad. Turns out she's as flat as a chainsaw's edge. Yet this didn't stop Denji from finishing up his remaining 2 gropes. The next morning, Denji's still stunned from last night's event that he can't even eat his breakfast. The same thing when he went out on patrol with Power. Even with Makima, he wasn't himself, acting like someone who's been under Gauther's spell. Makima had to ask what was up with him, and he explained. To help him under the topic he was dazed about, she prompted some daring and sexual move on him, making him understand what makes the matter of being with a woman more special than he initially thought. And afterwards, she grabbed his hands and groped her chest with it. Denji screamed like a psychopath. He fell to the ground and held onto his hands like they'd just been burnt. Maybe he just realized what it meant to be turned on. Makima takes this opportunity to ask him to take out the gun devil for her, promising to fulfill whatever his heart desires if he does so. Denji thought long and hard about that. Makima just become a Dragon Ball, and of course the only thing he really sought after was getting down and dirty with her in the sheets. She begins revealing the details the organization has on the gun devil to him. We get a flashback scene of what looks to be Aki as a child with his family. He tells his dad to come play fetch with him, but his dad shrugs him off nicely, telling him to play something else alone because his brother isn't feeling well. Bitterly, Aki indirectly calls his brother an attention hog. His mom reprimands his statement, but the same brother he shaded played the role of Itachi and defended him, saying he'll go play with him instead, as he gets up from the bed and take the hot towel off his head, running out the door with little Aki. Aki walks ahead and tells his little brother to get lost, saying he wants to be left alone. He picks up a snowball and tosses in at Tayo to show he's not joking around. Tayo just smiles and tosses a snowball back at him, hinting at a snowball fight. While Tayo's having fun, Aki's taking the game seriously. His brother's hands become reddish pink, and it's clear to him that his body won't let him play for long. Aki, smiling, tells him to go home and grab some gloves so he doesn't catch a cold. The moment Tayo walks in, Aki's entire house is blown away by a dangerous and powerful Chibaku Tensei caused by the gun devil being born. It's said its birth killed 1.2 million people. The scene shifts to Makima staring at Denji, making it clear that the gun devil is an extremely powerful creature, and tells him how it can be tracked with the bullet fragments it leaves behind, which also happens to be its flesh. Just then, Aki and a squad member kill a devil and find a bullet fragment in it. Denji, Power, Aki, and the 3 other members of Special Division 4 head over to Hotel Moran to kill a devil on request. No residents inhabit the hotel, and hunters who go in come out dead. Makima tasked Aki's team to get the job done. Aki holds up a piece of gun fragment to use as a means to track a devil they know absolutely nothing about. Denji hopefully assumes that it might actually be the gun devil in there, but Aki quickly debunks that claim, telling him that the force of pull on the fragment is too weak for it to be the actual gun devil. The team's about to head in, and they're uncomfortable because not everyone's acquainted with each other yet. To boost team morale, Himeno promises a kiss to the person who finds and kills the devil. At first, Denji doesn't show any interest because he wants his first kiss with Makima, but Himeno motivates him by whispering in his ear that she'll give him tongue, and with that, Denji charges into hotel room head first without thinking it through as usual. While the rest of the team is squabbling over who gets to kiss Himeno, Aki and Himeno, the 2 most experienced devil hunters on the team, take a minute to evaluate their mates and gauge their mission status. The team begins to move together down the hall, and Himeno sounds a warning that something's coming. A hotel room door opens a devil with a hand, and Hands comes charging at them. Himena uses telekinesis to grab it for Power to deliver the finishing blow, while Kobini just stood there screaming and being as useless as Sakura. Unfortunately, that's not the devil they were after. Power, dumb as she is, makes the mistake of thinking the devil froze in mid-air at the sight of her, not knowing that was Himeno's doing. Himeno explains how her power works. She's contracted with a ghost devil, which she acquired in exchange for right eye. Now she controls the invisible hands of a ghost, and in some cases the whole ghost itself. They continue up the floors in the hotel and realize they might be going in circles because they keep seeing the same blood stain from the small devil they encountered every time they go up the stairs. So they go in opposite directions. Arai goes up and Power goes down. Yet they still all meet on the same floor. Seems their devil possesses the Sharingan. Everyone's still together on the 8th floor trying to figure out what's going on. Himeno attempts checking for herself and also goes only to see Kobini waving the same peace sign she was when Himeno first left. In an attempt to escape the genjutsu, Aki and Denji walk into a room where the exit is meant to be. With no way out, they all wait in the hotel room available to them on that floor. Denji suggests that the devil Power killed could be the cause of this, but Aki quickly debunks that theory. Himeno asks Aki if the gun fragment is showing any signs of movement. Aki tells her no, while jiggling at it. Himeno points out the fact that they're dealing with a tricky devil. Arai tries to reassure them, thinking that HQ will send out a search party to come rescue them soon enough. Himeno tells him to count on the search party walking into the same trap they did. That's when Kobini starts panicking and Power can't help but laugh at her. Aki, after observing the environment, points out the malfunctioning clock. He reveals that the devil they're dealing with has the ability to manipulate time in a given area. Denji takes this opportunity to take a nap, seeing as time not passing wouldn't hurt anything. No one knew if he was being funny to lighten the mood or being downright stupid, but it's clear now that he meant what he said after falling fast asleep. He wakes up to a smiling Himeno who puts him up to speed on their current situation. She tells him about the supply of food they found stashed away. Also that Aki has been looking non-stop for the devil. At first Arai followed him, but he gave up a lot sooner. Some time passes and just as expected, everyone's slowly starting to crack. Well, except Power, she's always had a screw or two loose. They both go to check on Power, and she's doing rather well. She's spouting on and on about how she wants to win the Nobel Prize. Fat chance of that ever happening though. Himeno lights up a smoke as the three of them go to check on Arai and Kobini, who are both curled up in bed. Power points out the fact that she's disappointed by the fact that Himeno is so calm compared to the other two humans laying over there. Himeno just tells her it's because of how much trust and faith she has in Aki. A flashback pops up and we see an intimate moment between Aki and Himeno, which explains why they trust each other so much, also why they both smoke. Afterwards, Aki walks back in, snatching Himeno's cigarette and dropping some info on their situation. He found the source of them being trapped and it's not pleasant at all. The three of them follow him to the creature's location. It's a disgusting giant blub of heads and flesh. Looks like something that came straight out of Tokyo Ghoul. The devil proceeds to make a contract with them, instructing them to give him Denji dead or alive, and the rest of them can leave the hotel unscathed. Kobeni overhears the offer and picks up a knife to accept the devil's deal. With a knife in hand, she charges toward Denji, who's ready to clean her clock, but Aki and Himeno step in to incapacitate her. Aki tries to use his fox to deal with the creature, but it can't be summoned because the Eternity Devil cut them off from the rest of the world. Himeno then tries to use her ghost instead, but that just enrages the devil, causing him to grow even larger. It's unclear just how much time has passed since they got the contract offer, but it's clear that everyone's exhausted and hungry. While everyone's trying to think of a solution, the problem Power's eating away their rations like a pest. Kobeni's finally lost it, and her fear causes the devil to keep growing indefinitely. The devil then charges at Aki, Denji, and Himeno, causing them to flee to the elevator edge. They turn down to see a bottomless end of Blub Devil. With all options exhausted, Kobini sees an opportunity and finally goes to kill Denji, while Arai has him pinned and Himeno has Aki tied down to prevent him from using a sword that could save everyone at the cost of his lifespan being shaved off. In order to save Denji, Aki dives between him and the blade and his back suffers a brutal stab. Seeing Aki's willingness to sacrifice himself, Denji decides to do the same. He pulls the lever on his chest to activate his power and jumps down the elevator to face the Eternity Devil all by himself, so the others can escape even if he ends up dying. Inside the creature's seemingly infinite body, Denji slices non-stop. He totally crashed out. He's slowly getting weaker and losing blood. The devil sees a chance to grab him by his torso and rip his body apart, and so it takes it. Losing so much blood, his devil form starts to retract. He uses the opportunity of being binded to bite off the devil's flesh, drink its blood to regain his strength and form so he can go right back to crashing out. What do you get when you give a pervert with a screw loose an endless supply of blood steroids? A hardcore 3-day crash out. Denji kept slicing through the devil for 3 days straight until it gave up and surrendered its heart to him. They all finally escaped the hotel, looking like a ragtag team of misfits that partied too long during Halloween. Denji passes out, and Aki also needs medical attention, so Power and Himeno rush them both to the hospital, while Arai and Kobini return to HQ to leave a report. Some time passes, and both Aki and Himeno are seen talking over the corpse of another devil with a piece of gun fragment in it. They're planning a party to welcome in the new recruits to their division. Himeno asks Aki about Denji. It would seem he's become a fan favorite now. Beers clash, and the party begins with all members of Division 4 feasting happily and making small talk. After introducing himself, Denji reminds Himeno of the kiss he was promised, and that's when Makima arrives in the restaurant to join the fun. Aki takes this chance to ask Makima about Denji, but she offers a drink off instead, saying that if he wins, she'll tell him what he wants to know. For some reason, an already wasted Himeno hops in on it too. The two are passed out on the table, with Makima ordering another bottle. Out of nowhere, Himeno grabs Denji's face and lays it down for everyone to see, a searing hot kiss with tongue, just as promised. Everything's going good, up until the point where Himeno pukes in his mouth and he's forced to swallow it. Denji remembers a funny story with rats eating puke while he's barfing up whatever's left of his own dinner down the drain. He'll definitely remember this in the morning. After the party ended, Denji got kidnapped and wakes up to see Princess Puxalot on top of him in a room that clearly wasn't his. Himeno climbs on top of him and asks if he wants to do it. We don't need rocket science to know what she means. Now, we may not need rocket science, but Denji might, if he can't tell what it means to be in a girl's room with her half naked, asking if he wants to do. Himeno spells it out for him, asking if wants to downright the proceeds to take off his cloths. Denji's having second thoughts on his actions, and the candy in his pocket only strengthens his already shaken resolve to wait for Makima. Thank God it wasn't a condom. Thankfully, Himeno passes out on her own from all the alcohol. The next morning, Denji opens his eyes to see a sober Himeno offering him breakfast. They both share a meal together in the balcony while she asks Denji to debrief her on what went down last night. The scene shifts to Makima aboard a plane heading to Kyoto for a meeting. While she's on a train, two random individuals shoot her and her concierge dead. This strikes the beginning of what would seem to be a planned heist. Back in Tokyo, Kobini and Arai are shot dead by a random old lady with an illegal gun on the street. Looks like the gun devil finally decided to spring into action maybe. Denji, Aki, Power, and Himeno all hang out at a restaurant together. A random stranger makes his way into the conversation right before pulling out a gun and shooting Denji straight in the head. Power reacts swiftly, and Aki summons the fox devil to devour the man. It turns out he too is like Denji in a way. He slices its way out of the fox devil's mouth and introduces himself as the katana devil. Aki pulls out his forbidden sword to battle the devil, while Power rushes to look after an injured Himeno. He's desperate to make 3 clean slashes on the walking knife rack, and it's revealed to be because of a curse that could help end the fight quickly. While Aki's trying to process the situation that just went down, another strange figure appears before them, and this time it's a woman. She commends Aki on bringing down the katana devil with the curse devil as she walks up to the corpse to revive it again. It's time for round 2, and this time the katana devil blitzes right through Aki on some wannabe yellow flash niche before he can even think to react, slashing his chest open and having him on his knees in mere seconds. Himeno urges Power to forget her and back up Aki. Himeno tells her devil to help, but it refuses out of fear. Himeno then offers up her life in exchange for the devil saving Aki and kills the katana, which the devil obediently complies and attacks, overwhelming the katana and saving Aki. The lady figure then steps in once again to help the katana by summoning a snake to battle what he was facing. As the ghost devil dies, so too does Himeno's body as they both disintegrate into the wind, her last final act being to pull the lever on Denji's chest so he can protect Aki. Denji jolts up and prepares to go toe-to-toe with them both, but the katana steps in, suggesting this is a one-on-one fight between them both, no outside interferences. That's fine with Denji, he says, as he charges at the katana like a wild Inosuke. The mysterious lady, who's revealed to be Sawatari, informs a unit that they're currently engaging the chainsaw in battle and requests backup. We're treated to an epic scene of combat skill between two evenly matched devils, as though they were in the final valley. finale. Slowly, the tide of battle begins to shift towards the katana devil. He's gaining the upper hand. His hits and slashes begin to connect until he deals a decisive cut to Denji's shoulder. Denji grabs a gunman, thinking of using him as a hostage to stay the katana. The other metal for brains just bows a knee, pretending to surrender, and instantly pulls a flying Raijin without the kunai. He disappears right before Denji's eyes in. A flash that isn't yellow and appears behind him with a clean to the torso of both Denji and hostage, cutting both of them in half and grabbing Denji's severed corpse. We're taken back to Makima's body at the train cart, but it isn't immobile. She's up on her feet with a soulless look in her eye, like a reanimation jutsu was cast on her. Staring at the perpetrators, she wastes no time in tearing them apart as she walks out of the train unscathed. Makima instructs her subordinates to carry out her orders without failure. She requests for 30 convicts serving life sentences and a discreet location. She may want to pull an Orochimaru. The gunmen are seen dragging Denji's upper half into a van, but they're abruptly interrupted by a crow, and before long he's squashed like an insect to the ground by absolutely nothing. Sawatari instantly realizes that it was Makima's doing, as another one of their men dropped dead mid-conversation. Back at Makima's location, the convicts are seen lined up on their knees, blindfolded, having no clue they were being sacrificed as puppets to be used. Whenever she makes them utter anyone's name, she has access to, with that person as she likes. More and more gunmen begin to drop like flies until it's just Sawatari and the katana devil left. A girl is spotted from a distance. It turns to be Kobini, who wants to get revenge for Arai's death against Sawatari and the katana devil. She goes full on assassin mode and charges straight for them, dodging effortlessly through Sawatari's and slicing the katana devil's arm clean off, right before shooting at Sawatari and rescuing Denji. Sawatari looks at an almost lifeless katana and chooses instead to retreat with him into the van and escapes. Kobini looks at Denji with so much remorse she hugs his half-corpse. She's losing it again, blaming herself for Denji's death. Makima makes it back to Tokyo rather quickly and gets a full debrief on the situation as well as some new intel. Aki wakes up in a hospital bed with Denji and Power waiting by his side, or rather, arguing by his side. Aki's question instantly ended their squabble. He asked who else survived the incident in their division. Denji tells him Kobini and one other member with glasses were the other two remaining survivors. They leave his hospital room on the count of Makima summoning them, but they at least leave him one apple from his own get-well fruit basket. Aki, being alone, checks the number of years he has left after using the forbidden sword, then attempts to light a cigarette while remembering Himeno in the process. He hesitates and bursting into tears with Denji overhearing on the outside. Not because he was eavesdropping. He forgot his ecchi manga in there and wanted to go back in to grab it. He begins thinking if he'd cry, should he lose any of the people in his life, seeing as he had no tear to shed for Himeno. They both leave the hospital to go see Makima. At the same time, Makima's agents walk into Aki's room, informing him that they were sent by her to coach his squad for the time being. Makima and the two devil hybrids are seen trailing a graveyard, with Makima telling them they both need to get stronger. She introduced them to their new personal trainer. The mysterious man has 3 questions to ask them before anything else. Feeling like Kakashi with the bell test. Apparently, they got perfect scores. Makima leaves confident that they're in capable hands. He specifically instructs them to call him master, while hugging them in so tight he chokes them half to death and breaking their necks, leaving them paralyzed on the ground. He then pulls out a blood pack to give them, knowing it would heal them up completely. His training methods are unusual. He tells them the only way they pass is if they can beat him in a fight, as he claims to be the best devil hunter in the world. The training begins with 3 blitzing stabs to Denji's shoulder and 1 more to the gut. Power charges from behind but meets a similar fate. They're both left bleeding out on the ground as their master just stands there. Back in the hospital, Aki loses his connection to the Fox Devil after their last incident and receives a much-needed lecture from Makima's subordinates. They give him 2 options: to either contract with stronger devils or quit being a devil hunter. As they take their leave, a stranger comes to visit Aki and he's left speechless. Both Denji and Power were going at it all day, but none of them could do anything whatsoever to their master. He decides to call it a day and leaves them both there, exhausted and tired, telling them to pick up tomorrow. They both start walking home and Power suggests that they run away. Denji responds to her saying it's a stupid idea, get on Makima's wanted list. They'd have better luck being hunted down by the Akatsuki. Power thinks she's figured out a way to beat their new frenemy. She tells Denji that they'll need to start fighting smarter, not harder. The next morning, their master comes over to their apartment, but they already expected him and fully prepared. Power tosses a blood spear right through the door like a seasoned Spartan warrior just as the master's about to open it. But he just casually dodges the spear by tilting his head back and grabbing the spear. It seems they actually did get smarter overnight, coming up with very articulate traps. She manipulates blood in bottles over his head and sends them flying down on him, but his reaction speed almost looks like the Ultra Instinct, the way he just casually weaves through the blades. Denji then sneaks from behind him with his axe in swing, but proceeds to get a roundhouse kick straight to the face, literally knocking the smarts off his face. They had no luck this time. Their master told them their area of errors before leaving. Feeling relieved, Denji gets on his feet, and as he tilts his head up, it's met with a propelled knife hitting it dead center. He didn't expect to be used as a dartboard. It's Aki's turn to go through his own montage. He's going down an elevator with Makima's associates to get his new contract. They're searching for the right devil for Aki while making small talk. Eventually, they make it to cell number 108, which contains the future devil. They chose this devil for Aki because they felt it would be a good fit for him. Aki goes in and the cell door shuts behind him. Aki's face to face with the future devil, and he's completely unfazed. This devil has the same level of charisma as Midoriya. Aki doesn't waste any time telling the devil that he's here to make a contract. He tells the devil to make his demands known. The devil tells him to drop the crappy attitude for starters. He tells Aki that he wants to look into his future to see what he wants from it, and the only way for that to happen is for Aki to stick his head into the creature's gaping hole in his chest where an eyeball is hiding. Talk about gross. Aki does so without hesitation. The dancing devil begins to laugh maniacally, as it seems he's found what he wants. He says he's gonna move into Aki's right eye, and once he's settled in, he can lend his power to him whenever he wishes. He's sure Aki is wondering how he got off so easily, to which the devil answers, saying he's gonna die in the worst possible way. He offers to tell him about it, but Aki cuts him off, saying he doesn't give a damn, he dies.
俺は俺が殺したい奴を殺せれば、あとはどうなってもいい。さっさと目に入れ。
And the only thing that matters is he kills who needs to kill on some Sasuke revenge vibe. We're back to the two Play Toys training session, and it doesn't look like they've accomplished much, but their master tells them they're better now and that he won't be seeing them every day anymore. Once a week will do. He still gives them feedback on the areas of their senses and strategies that need fine-tuning. He informs them of the plan to take out the katana and Sawatari along with the other gunmen. He threatens them to come back successful or else. Nighttime falls and the master is seen dining with Makima at a resort to discuss the progress of his new students. He tells Makima to cut the act and come clean about the assault on his previous students a few days ago. Makima acts natural, assuring him that it's all for the good of humanity. In a building downtown, we see the Yakuza faction hiding in a small room, probably all scared of Makima. The one with the most worry seems to be the katana devil sitting in the center of the room. They lie in wait for Makima and her team to come to them instead of heading to Tokyo, where Makima can drop them dead like flies. They have a small army of zombies down in the building basement, which they'll use against Division 4 when they arrive. Aki and the agents are driving downtown, doing a little bit of sightseeing. One of the agents calls Aki an idiot for going after the gun devil when he couldn't even beat a couple of thugs with guns when they came for his friends. Aki, being as cool as any other anime side character, just tells him to piss off in a more polite manner. They arrive Public Safety HQ and drop off Aki before driving off. Meanwhile, Makima makes a little visit to the Yakuza to find out why they would dare attack her guys. The boss comes clean and tells her that they weren't acting on his orders, saying they were all following Sawatari, who follows the gun. Makima thanks him for his cooperation thus far and asks him for confidential information, which is where things start getting tense. He tries to let her know that what she's asking isn't reasonable, but she insists, making it less like a request and more like an order. He throws a subtle threat at her to prove he's no pushover. She responds in kind by handing him a bag of the eyes of every single member present in that room. One of the crew members grabs her by the shoulder in annoyance, and she turns to give him one hell of a death stare. With that, she reminds the Yakuza of their place and leaves with full certainty of their compliances. A bunch of police cars are parked outside Sawatari and Katana's building. The two of them begin executing their plan. Denji, Power, Kobini, and Aki are all seen at the front lines of the attack with their master leading the team. The 4 frontliners are seen entering the building. The head of Division 4 debriefs the head of Division 2 and tells him to be ready to apprehend any member of Division 4 should they go rogue. All members of the division are seen making light work of the zombies in the basement. Aki and his friends leave the remaining zombies to the fiends and go up the floors to look for the katana and Sawatari. Aki end up being cornered by gunmen, but they all drop dead after a nosebleed, thanks to Makima. Aki makes was deeper inside the building to finally meet Sawatari. He tries to get her to surrender, but she summons the ghost devil, instantly cutting him off. He's finally dazed looking at his former partner's devil. She doesn't give him a moment to process as the fight begins. He's holding his own nicely thanks to his new observation haki, and the fight seems evenly fair, but he can barely keep this going for too long and eventually he's caught in the grip of the devil. Sawatari orders it to keep squeezing until Aki dies of suffocation or pops. Aki's being choked alive when he starts recalling his memories with Himeno, and we're brought to the battleground where the ghost devil puts him down and hands a cigarette over to him to Sawatari's surprise. He just walks past an immobilized ghost devil, climbing all the way to the top of its head, cutting it clean off. She tries to call for her snake devil, but Aki warns her not to because Kobini already has her knife over Sawatari's neck, and with that she's been captured. Now it's time for Denji and Power to apprehend the katana. They're in an elevator going to the next floor. Once the doors open, a horde of zombies await them on that floor. Denji suggests they move in quietly, but Power has other plans. She wants a bloodbath, no surprise there. Denji ditches her and continues up the elevator. He finally finds the samurai sword and doesn't want to waste a second, but Denji's disappointed upon hear that the dude wants to surrender. It's a good thing he was kidding. He tells Denji to just let him end his life, but Denji's just not interested. He hasn't groped enough melons yet. The fight kicks off with both of them smashing through the building wall and landing on the roof of another. Denji's playing defense up until the point he's knocked onto the back of a train. The katana praises his improved skills, but still points out the fact that it won't be enough to win the fight. Denji doesn't really care. He's convinced he can win the fight. The fight continues until they tear a hole in a train cart and continue the battle there. The katana tosses Denji far back to put some distance between them. The katana strikes his flying Rajan pose and Denji instantly realizes what's coming. He braces himself for the impact and loses one arm as a result. Again, the katana strikes his pose and Denji tells him that his moves should band because of how broken it is. But the katana blitzes again to take off the other arm. He tells Denji to give up since he can't fight without his arms. Denji has a major crash out and says all he needs is his head to finish the job, charging headfirst into the flying Rajan pose. It was too fast to see what happened, but the moment they both stop, we see that Denji's chainsaw breaks in two and the samurai sword is split in two right down the middle. He really did put the dick in predictable. Denji then shows the chainsaw attached to his head, which he used to split the katana devil. The sun sets and we see a tied-up samurai sword kneeling before a devil hunter. Denji says he wasn't just satisfied with winning the battle. He wanted to get revenge for Himeno. He then comes up with an idea. At the same time, Aki shows up to call in backup to apprehend the samurai. But before they get here, he suggests a little nutshot contest, a nut off, where they both take turns nutting on the devil's face and see who can make him beg the most. Aki isn't interested at first, but he eventually agrees after taking a good long look at the cigar the ghost devil handed and asks what his prize is after he wins. Denji chuckles, telling him they'll snag his family jewels. They slowly walk towards him as he starts begging them to reconsider. The mission's finally over, and it was a complete success with no single casualty. Makima stands before a board of mysterious directors debriefing them on the details of the successful mission. It's revealed to us that Sawatari was beheaded by a random devil on the way out of the building, leaving Kobini completely shocked and scared. The mission yielded significant as the team recovered enough gun devil fragments to gravitate towards the main body, and now the devil's location is known. Aki wakes up from sleep in the middle of the night to light a smoke in his balcony. He grabs a cigarette from the pack he smokes. It turns out to be the same cigarette that Himeno left behind him. He's finally summoned up the courage to smoke it, deciding not to keep it as a good luck charm anymore. The anime comes to cliffhanging pause with Denji sound asleep, having a dream as a kid, meeting his dear friend Pochita again. But Pochita hides behind a door, warning Denji to never open that door for any reason. Thank you for coming with us to the finish line of this adventurous anime filled with thriller, tragedy, and amazing actions. Please do not hesitate to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and to turn on the notification bell. Also, like our videos and leave a comment below them. Keep dreaming and keep discovering new parts of yourself.